This is
Cast.
Hello there, and welcome to another episode of my podcast Racing. Now, a quick disclaimer before we proceed on with the episode. Me and my good friend Alyssa actually had recorded this episode earlier, but the audio got really messed up. So we're actually re-recording our thoughts on the Mamma Mia films and why they're so surprisingly enjoyable and unforgettable. So if a lot of the things that we say we actually have said before in a previous recording, so if there isn't as much, I guess for lack of a better term, energy or enthusiasm behind what we're saying, it's because it'll be basically repeats of what we said before. So yeah, quick disclaimer, but still hope you guys enjoy the episode. And please welcome back my good friend Alyssa. How are you doing, Alyssa?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. But yeah, so like I said earlier, we're going to be talking about the Mamma Mia films and how surprisingly unforgettable and for the most part enjoyable they are. Now, you've told me this in your personal life, but the
Yes.
Mamma Mia films you would consider to be like your favorite films. Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely the second one is probably my number one favorite. I'm obsessed.
Yeah,
I'm just getting to my notes on the movie.
The second film is definitely, like I said, very enjoyable. However, I really don't like the first film. I don't know, with the first film, just a lot of both films are very much over the top and intentionally cheesy and melodramatic and goofy, but that kind of style really bothered me with the first film, and whereas in the second film it worked for me. I can't really explain it, but just it was very over. Both films are very over the top, and it annoyed me in the first film, but it didn't annoy me in the second film. And I can't really explain how that works for me, but that's just how I feel. And I also feel with the first film that the characters were kind of annoying, but they were a lot more endearing and not relatable, but more engaging to watch in the second film. And also, the major improvement of the second film over the first film is way less of Pierce Brosnan singing.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the reasons why the first one wasn't as engaging is because when they had the songs that they were singing, some of them either were too slow of a song to dance to, or if it was a dancing song, they really weren't dancing. They were just kind of showing these fake scenarios that were happening. When they were singing the Money Honey song in the first one, they just cut to them being on a boat, but obviously they're not really on a boat. And I think when they have scenes like that, it kind of takes away from the actual movie, because they could be dancing or doing something more with their time instead of just cutting to those random scenes. Because ABBA, most of their songs, they are very danceable songs, and it's easy to come up with good choreography for them. So I think they kind of, for the songs, flowed okay, but I just think that they should have chose more songs that they could dance to, because I feel they didn't really, you couldn't really dance to some of the slower songs that they picked, and I did pick quite a few amounts of slow songs, as compared to the second one, where if they weren't dancing, they didn't cut to a scene where it was a fake scenario, a made-up scenario, the boat scene in the first one. It was them riding the bikes for them to jump off the bridge at the end of the first song, I Kissed the Teacher or something. They're actually doing something that makes sense with the flow of the movie.
That is a good point. And something else about the songs and the musical numbers is that is that in the first movie, the songs, it felt basically just like, like they wrote a movie around like they had the songs first, and then they wrote the story and whatever, and the musical numbers around the songs. But with the second film, I felt like they were able to, for the most part, cleverly. They had a story first, and then were able to cleverly insert the songs into the story and make it flow really well. And yeah, that's something that I thought that the people working on the second film did really well. And I know that the two films have different directors, and in my opinion, I think that the second director of the second film did a much better job than the director of the first film.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just the way maybe he like studied the first film. He was able to get like inspiration, see like what he liked, what he didn't like, and I feel like a lot of the things like we're talking about that we didn't like, I feel like that's like a general kind of like agreement of things that people didn't like about it, because it's kind of just like a general thing that most people don't. I mean, for me personally, I think that it is kind of how like a lot of people obviously like the first Mamma Mia, that's why they came out with the second one. But I think there were just a few things that were kind of like wrong in terms of like how they made the movie, and I think it's also probably too because of, like you said, the film was made to fit the songs, not the songs were made to fit the movie. So I think because of that, it just kind of makes it a little harder for like the whole like cast and crew and like the writers and everything, to kind of make it more of like an enjoyable experience, I guess, for lack of other terms, just because they're so focused on making sure that the songs, the film fit with the songs, even though it kind of fully didn't. But with the second film, they wrote the script first before they wrote the songs. But I think if they did it the other way, I think they would still have like the same problems that the first movie had. It wouldn't have been as good of a movie as it was if they followed the same outline and same pattern as the first movie. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. Yeah, I like I said before, I think it was really smart with the second film. I could tell that they, like you just said, they had the songs to fit the movie, not they wrote the movie first and then had the songs to fit the movie, not they had the songs already existed off a soundtrack first, and then they just Jerry just tried to force a story around it.
It's just like the way the songs like flowed with the movie. Like obviously they're not going to sing Mamma Mia when like Lily James met Harry's character, because Lily James and the guy who played Harry, like with their characters never got into like a big argument or got upset with each other. So obviously you're not going to put like Mamma Mia with them. Like they had like a happy upbeat song, Waterloo, and even though like going back to like the whole songs and the dancing and stuff like that, like even though that song is like a super danceable song, I think in the first movie, I can't remember if they did use that song, but I know in the second movie, like because it's such a danceable song, they had like a whole dance number to go with that song, because like it worked. It's not something that you can just like sing it and just walk around for a bunch of times instead of like actually dancing. So I think that they did a really good job with the dance numbers for songs that actually deserve dance numbers, which I wish they did more of in the first movie, because I really didn't think that there was much dancing.
Yeah,
But
and the dance choreography was a lot better in the second movie. Was there even really dance choreography at all in the first movie? I feel like they were just I feel like the director was just like, okay, just dance. But in the second movie, I feel like there was a bit of like planning and all
yeah,
that with like the dance numbers.
I agree. I feel like with the first one, there was very minimalistic dancing, and if they did dance, like I forget what the song's called, but it was with one of Meryl Streep's friends, the one with the longer hair. She had like a really good dance number in the first one, but I can't remember what the song was called. But she was singing it to, I wrote it down actually. She was singing.
Are you talking about the dark-haired friend who has that dance number with that like I don't know, like Jamaican guy or something like that?
Yeah, yeah.
You liked that? I
I
found that's.
didn't.
Oh, you didn't like that.
I didn't, but that was an actual dance number, so I can
Okay.
appreciate the fact that they did try and make that a dance number. I didn't really. I thought that was such a waste of time and a pointless plot line in the
It
movie.
was. It was such a wasted time and a pointless subplot. Like, yeah.
Oh, her name was Tanya. The guy was Pepper. She was singing to Pepper, but Pepper also was not in the second movie. Like, he was just gone. I don't know
Good.
if you realize that.
Good. I mean, nothing negative against the actor, but that character was just pointless and served no
Yeah,
purpose to the story. But
I agree.
going back to Lily James real quick, she was
Mhm.
so good. She imitated Meryl Streep perfectly.
Yeah, she really did a good job. I know I watched like a few interviews with her, and like she said in like almost every single interview, because everyone wanted to know how she was able to capture Meryl Streep's character so well. She said that she watched Mamma Mia a bunch of times and like tried reenacting and like tried to like be, I guess it's kind of like method acting, but she literally just studied Meryl Streep in Mamma Mia, and then she like tried like copying Meryl Streep based off of other movies that she's done too, like just to like understand her, like how she acts as a person, but like through her different roles, just to like get to know her as a person, kind of, because she wasn't really on set for the second one. Because I looked this up, I think, after we recorded the first podcast, and I think it said that Meryl Streep, the reason why she really isn't in the second movie is because the timing with her schedule and when they wanted the film to come out just couldn't match up very well. So they never actually gave a reason as to how she died, but that's just because they didn't know how to like really come up with like an announcement for her death. So just because she's still alive and like her character only isn't really in the movie because timing didn't work out. But she just like, so since Meryl Streep really wasn't on the set, she just studied her from like her interviews from her old movies, and then to completely become Meryl Streep's character in Mamma Mia, she studied the first movie like a lot, took notes, and like she's like I think she said she had like notebooks full of just Meryl Streep notes.
Well, all her studying and the research really paid off because she was great, and I
Yeah.
swear she could play. If they ever make a prequel to any of Meryl Streep's movies, Lily James could play that character. But
I agree.
I do find it interesting though that why do you think that they decided with the second movie to make it both a prequel and a sequel?
I don't know. Honestly, I never really considered it to be a prequel and a sequel until like you mentioned it, because I always just thought it was like a sequel. But once you said it's like a sequel and a prequel, it makes a lot more sense that they did that. I personally feel like if they didn't make it a sequel and they just stuck to it being the prequel, I don't think it would have I don't think it would have done as well, just because you wouldn't have Amanda Seyfried, who played Sophie, and like all the other like characters from the first movie. Like you wouldn't have them, and I think they make the movie too, not just like the prequel people, like the sequel people and the original people, like they make the movie. So I feel like the way they transitioned it really well from having it to the prequel and then switching back to the sequel, especially during the scene where they're walking around where Sophie's walking Tanya and Meryl Streep's friends. She's walking them around the newly built hotel. And when she's doing that, Lily James is also singing with her. And the way they transition to show what it used to look like when Lily James's character first saw the hotel, to how they transitioned it to what Sophie did to it, like the whole renovations. I think that shows, like, I think that was like a perfect way to like transition back and forth from the prequel to the sequel. But I think the transitions were good. And I think if they only had it as a prequel or they only had it as a sequel, I feel like just something would be missing from it. I feel like it wouldn't capture the same energy and everything that they were going for. I don't think it would have really been captured well or good.
That's interesting that you say that, actually, because me personally, I didn't really get much emotional investment out of or satisfaction out of watching the sequel part of the movie. I actually kind of wish that it was just the prequel part of it, because I was more interested in the movie when it was explaining how Donna met Harry, Sam, and Bill, and I was more interested in that over just seeing, Amanda Seyfried again. And don't get me wrong, I love Amanda Seyfried. I think that she was absolutely amazing in the recent Netflix movie Mank. She's definitely going to get an Oscar nomination for that movie for sure. But I didn't really get much out of the sequel scenes, to be honest. I got more personally out of the prequel part of it. But I do think that it was smart of them overall to go the Godfather Part 2 routes, where they did both the prequel and the sequel in the same movie. But I don't know, just me personally, I just got more out of the prequel stuff.
I agree. I think I was definitely a little more invested in some of the prequel things, but I don't think they could have had a movie where it was just a sequel, because I think it would have just been too much like the original Mamma Mia. But I think with the prequel, with the sequel, it makes the sequel. But I think you're right, though, actually. I think the prequel probably could have been by itself. Like, it could have been like its own movie. But I don't think, and it probably still would have done just as well, but I don't think the sequel, if it was just a sequel without the prequel, I don't think that would have done that good. I think it might have tanked, maybe. Just because the storyline of the prequel is kind of like what gets you invested, because it like drags you into the movie.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. This is kind of a change in subject right here, but I'm just curious, who do you think the father is, and who do you want the father to be?
All right, so I think it can't be Harry, because based on the time lapses and everything, it kind of seems like I'm going to go solely based off the second one, even though I think the timelines for the Mamma Mia first movie and Mamma Mia 2, I think they're both the same, but I'm just going to go off the second one. And it seems like there was quite a time difference, like time passed since Harry and Donna met. So I feel like if she was pregnant, she would have known prior to being with Bill or Sam, because she got with Harry, left Harry, met Bill, but they didn't do anything. So then time passed between when she met Sam after she got on the boat, and she seemed to be with Sam the longest. So I think, but she was with Sam the longest, but the last person she was with was Bill. So I think it's either one of those two. But because she was with Sam the longest, I think the dad was Sam. But I also think that Sophie's real dad is Sam. Well, I want it to be Sam, because Donna and Sam they just look so good. Like Lily James's character and the guy who played Sam, like young Sam, I just feel like they look so perfect together, and like I wanted them to end up, because I feel like Harry was just too like, I don't want to say acted weird, because he wasn't weird. He just like didn't have, I guess, like enough life experience as Lily James, I guess. Like I felt like he was too like, I mean, he calls himself spontaneous, but I feel like he's just really not spontaneous. So like I think that they're like, Lily James, I think her character, and like Dawn, I think they're actually spontaneous, and Harry tries too hard to be spontaneous, and I think that's what makes me feel like they don't work well together. But there's something with Bill. I just don't like Bill for Donna. I personally like Bill with her friend who has the short hair, who like apparently in the second movie they end up actually getting together. So I was really rooting for them. Yeah, it's just something about Sam and Donna. Like, I just love them together. Like, I'm invested in them being together. Like, I need to know, like, if he didn't actually have a fiance, if, like, they would have gotten married and they would have lived happily ever after. Like, I just need to know that if it wasn't for the fiance.
Yeah,
But,
I
log-
agree. I agree that in terms of like the timeline, it makes the most sense that Sam is Sophie's dad. I think that, yeah, I do think that the actors do have, for both young Donna and Sam and adult Donna and Sam have decent chemistry together. And I think that Amanda Seyfried, out of the three guys, Amanda Seyfried looks like Sam Pierce Brosnan the most. But I personally have quite the soft spot for Harry. I really like Colin Firth, and Hugh Skinner, the actor who plays young Harry, was amazing in Fleabag, which is a great show on Amazon Prime that all of you need to watch. But yeah, I don't know. Just I know in the terms of the timeline, it doesn't make sense. And yeah, they do have like kind of opposing personalities, although sometimes opposites can attract.
yes.
So sometimes, but in terms of like the timeline and where Donna was in her life and who she was staying with, it wouldn't make sense for Harry to be the dad. But I just like him the most out of the three. And I do agree though that Bill is better off with Donna's friends rather than Donna herself.
It's interesting that you think Sophie looks more like Pierce Brodswick, because I personally feel like she kind of looks more like Bill, just because they both have blonde hair, and especially young Bill, I feel like he has very like in-depth like eye indents or whatever it's called, like his eyes go like more inward, and I feel like I know Sophie's Amanda Seyfried's eyes kind of go out a little bit more. And for some reason, I just feel like I know, like you said, like I know it's like totally different apples to oranges, like opposites attract. But I just feel like for some reason, like because the eye thing and the blonde hair, I feel like not many people can really have blonde hair unless you have blonde hair. And Lily James is a natural brunette. So, but I don't. I guess technically speaking, Dawn is supposed to have blonde hair, so that can also be where she gets her blonde hair from. But if we're talking logically about Lily James, she has natural brown hair. So that's where I think she kind of looks like Bill a little bit more.
I get that. Yeah, I get that. I just personally see more similarities in Amanda Seyfried and Pierce Brosnan's appearances than Amanda Seyfried and Stellan Skarsgård, who plays adult Bill. But I want to get your opinion on the stuff with Cher and Andy Garcia, because in my opinion, that was the worst part of the worst and most pointless part of the second movie, was bringing in
Yes.
Cher.
Yes, I totally 100% agree. I feel like that scene with them singing Fernando, or Fernando, whatever it's called, I feel like that scene is equivalent to the whole Tanya and Pepper's dance scene from the first movie. I wish I could skip it every single time I watch Mamma Mia too, because it's just so slow. And I like Cher as an actor. I don't really listen too much to her music, but I think she's a really great actor and singer. But that song, like they could just like pick up the pace a little bit or something. Like I get how it fits into the movie, because Sophie says in the beginning, he said in the beginning when Sophie introduced him to Donna's friends, like, oh, I've loved once and she left me, or I left her, something like that. And then when Donna says, like young Donna says that my mom loved a foreigner once, or whatever she said, I think she said foreigner, and he left her, so I don't really go for foreign guys. But so like I see how like they like foreshadowed it really well. But the fireworks were the only thing I really liked about that song, and I don't like fireworks, so that's saying something. But I think if they could just like pick up the pace, especially because like even though they're both old and like Cher's supposed to be a grandma and Andy Garcia is just old looking, I feel like he's also Spanish, so they could have done like some like Spanish pizzazz to it and made it like a little like of a faster paced tempo.
Yeah, me too. And isn't Meryl Streep older than Cher? Like I'm pretty sure that she's a couple of years older because yeah, and it's funny that Meryl Streep is playing Cher's daughter, and yet I
Yeah.
think Meryl Streep's a couple of years older.
I don't know how old they both are, but I do know that when I was looking up facts about the movies, I should say, Meryl Streep's character, even though she, at the time of the first movie, she was in like maybe her 50s or 60s. I don't know how old she was. I can't remember. But even if she was like in her 50s or 60s, she was actually only supposed to be in her 40s. So she technically probably died either at the age of like early 50s or late 40s. I don't know why they pick. I mean, I probably just because of like the name and like it's Meryl Streep. So of course, like if they could get her in a movie, it's going to be a hit. So I think they just used her maybe for the name, besides the whole she's a great actor and singer. I think they they just picked her to play someone who's supposed to be younger than she actually is, which is why I think that they can get away with saying Cher is 60 years old or something like that, because and have that actually be Donna's mom, because if Donna died when she was like 50 and Cher can pass as like a 60 or 70-year-old, that's only 20 to 30 years older than Donna. So I think that's why they did that, even though they're technically this, even though Meryl Streep might be older than Cher. That's just how they were able to pull it off.
Right. Well, testament to Meryl Streep's acting then, because yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, I didn't know that you know, her character was in her 40s, but she pulled it off pretty well, I guess. But
Yeah.
she's obviously, you know, like such a great actress, and some people consider her to be the greatest actress of all time. But I'll be honest, and I last time I said this, and I I remember the look on your face, but I'm gonna say this again. I don't think she's the best singer.
I knew you were gonna say that. That's what I was thinking when I said it's Meryl Streep. So of course they're gonna want a good singer and a good actor to play Donna. I knew you were gonna say that because I the second I said it, I was thinking that's what you're gonna say. But I don't know if it's just because of her name and who she is, but I like her singing. She was also in Prom, the new Netflix movie, and I thought she sang great in that. But I mean, I mean, not saying she sounds the same, but like it's like still like the same voice from Prom to Mamma Mia. But I know sometimes as singers get older, they sometimes lose their capability to sing. Like Mariah Carey, when she first started out, she could like whistle tone and stuff like that. But now I think she does like a lot more lip syncing and like studio mixes in her music, like especially when she was doing New Year's Rockin' Eve a couple years ago, she lip synced the whole thing because she blamed it on the cold weather affecting her voice. But just as like you get older, sometimes you like lose the ability to sing. So that could also be it with Meryl. She's just getting old. But there are still like a bunch of people I know that are old that can sing. Like I thought Cher was a good singer, even though I didn't like the song.
Yeah, yeah, Cher's definitely still got it. And I'm not saying that Meryl Streep is a bad singer. I just don't think that she's like that good necessarily. Definitely better than Pierce Brosnan. Like Pierce Brosnan was just bad. But
Yeah.
like when he started singing in the second movie, I was like, oh no. But then thankfully he wasn't singing. He only sang like one or two lyrics, and I was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
But and I think that a big problem though with his song was that Pierce Brosnan has a very naturally like deep and low voice, and they gave
Hmm.
him his song in the first movie was meant more so for a soprano, and he's definitely not a soprano at all.
Yeah.
But I will say though that I do think that Meryl Streep. So Mamma Mia came out in 2008, and I believe that I could be wrong, but I believe that the first Mamma Mia was Meryl Streep's first like real like singing role. But since then, she has been in a bunch of other musicals like Into the Woods, Mary Poppins Returns, The Prom, and even in the second Mamma Mia, I think that she got better. Like I could tell that she took some singing lessons, and she does sound better in the second movie, and in Into the Woods, and The Prom. Oh, and oh yeah, I've seen The Prom, by the way, and
Oh, okay, I was gonna ask you that.
I really didn't like the movie, but I thought that Meryl Streep herself was great. Yeah, I really didn't like The Prom that.
I loved it.
Well, I'm really glad you liked it, but I don't know. Because me, like, I don't know. I found, well, I really dislike James Corden. I really don't like
Okay.
James Corden at all.
I thought
And
he was so funny. But continue. Sorry.
really, because I didn't laugh once at any of his jokes from the movie. But I don't know, just if it just I don't know, just The Prom. It was definitely too long. Like it's an
Yeah.
over 2 hours long, and I was like, can we please? During certain scenes, I was just like, can we please hurry this up?
Yeah.
But I thought that Meryl Streep was sounded better in The Prom and in the second Mamma Mia film than in the first Mamma Mia film, and yeah, that is true that with some singers as they get older, their singing voice starts to weaken a little bit, but I find it to be kind of the opposite with Meryl Streep. I don't think I never thought that she was bad though, but at the same time she's no like Whitney Houston or
Yeah.
anything. Well, Whitney Houston's like a really high bar, so
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know, just I love Ryan Murphy who directed The Prom. His show Feud, the movie that he directed for HBO, The Normal Heart, American Crime Story, which he produced.
Mhm.
I think that those are all really good, but he's also responsible for one of the worst shows of all time, which is Glee. And yeah, I know. That same look. Yeah, I that's what I said. Glee is one of the worst shows of all time.
I'm watching Glee for the first time. I only started watching it because of Naya Rivera's passing, and I thought I was gonna hate it because I didn't think I don't know. I just didn't think I was gonna like it because when it first came out and it was like on air, I didn't watch shows unless my sister watched the show. So if she hated it, I hated it, and I just watched what she watched. So now that I'm like obviously like I formed my own opinions now, and like I'm watching it and I like it. They have some songs that I don't know, but they still sing them like really well. And for the songs that I do know, sometimes if like I didn't fully know like what the actual singer was saying, when I watch the song get played in Glee, they make it clear for you to understand what the singer was actually singing. But I like it. I thought it's a good show. I'm still watching it, but I like it. I thought it was so far. I think the show so far is really good. I was
I,
acting as if I saw everything.
so me as someone who so I will admit I haven't seen the entirety of Glee either. I've only seen the first 4 seasons, and
Okay.
like the show does, in my opinion, decrease with quality over each
Yeah.
season. But honestly, the first season was even that good to begin with. But that's just my opinion. I think that like Glee and The Prom for me both have the same issues. Like 3 major issues that I have with both Glee and The Prom is that some of the songs are not that good and unnecessary. There are like some pacing issues. And also, another major issue is that there are some stereotypes of like gay people or people in other
Mm-hmm.
marginalized groups that I thought were in pretty poor taste in both Glee and The Prom, mainly with James Corden's character. And so
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it is weird that like Ryan Murphy, who is gay and who is, such a big champion for LGBT rights, and a lot of his films are very, like pro-gay and all that stuff. It's weird that like to the the most famous thing that he's known for is Glee, and Glee does feature like negative gay stereotypes and all that. And I get that sometime in both Glee and The Prom they're poking fun at those stereotypes and not necessarily portraying it as accurate, but I don't know, just its inclusion in both Glee and The Prom just kind of irked me a little.
Yeah, I agree. I think there definitely is, like, especially like I'm also on season 4, so like I agree with you that like once season 4 starts, because this is like the first season where like some of the cast goes to college, I feel like that is just like a weird thing I don't really like. But I agree though that like there are definitely a lot of like stereotypical things. Like I know in season 4, like Brittany's like, oh, the lesbian IM chats or online chats, whatever she says, like I was just like, those don't exist like ever, and if they do, no one's on them anymore. But like, I think it's okay to be stereotypical in in these situations because it's a gay guy writing it or someone who's openly gay. So I think for him, it's just like his way to like, I don't want to say cope, because that's definitely not the correct word. But for lack of other words, I'm just gonna say it's like his way to cope and to like laugh at the fact that oh, that's not right. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I guess I'm just trying to say like
No, I get what you're trying to say. Yeah, like a lot of times writers will use, like write from personal experience, and if they've, been
yeah.
through like bullying or harassment or other stuff, they might incorporate elements of that into their work. You just have to be careful in incorporating those elements that you're not like doing it in a way where like actually ends up like hurting said marginalized group or anything like that. And I think that overall I still really like Ryan Murphy. Hit the HBO film that he directed, The Normal Heart, with Mark Ruffalo and Julia Roberts, is heartbreaking but amazing. If any of you have HBO out there, that's another recommendation. Fleabag on Amazon and on HBO, The Normal Heart. It's so sad, but it's so good. I still like Ryan Murphy overall, but I do have issues with some of his work, mainly with Glee and The Prom. Just I get why he included certain stereotypes and all that, but I don't know, it just felt kind of
Forced.
forced and in poor taste.
Mm-hmm.
But going back to Mamma Mia, I think I personally said everything that I want to say about Mamma Mia. So do you have any like final thoughts on either film?
Yeah, I have a few more things that I wanted to say that I wrote down in my
Sure.
notes. I don't know if you can see my notes, but yeah. Yeah, so like one of the things was the transition from the song One of Us, where it's Sophie and Sky singing. They had like a few shots that I thought like the way they edited it together, I thought like it honestly reminded me of like some really good TikTok transitions. If that, like, but like they showed like a shot of Sophie holding a blue shirt, and like she was going to like go and like try and get the wrinkles out of it, so she like was trying to get, I can't describe how she was doing, she's trying to get the wrinkles out of the shirt, and so it gets to like a super close up of the blue in the shirt, so the only thing on the screen is the blue shirt, or like a super close up of the blue in the shirt, and then when they zoom out of the blue from the shirt, it cuts to Sky putting the shirt on, like they zoomed out and you see him like putting his arm into the shirt or something like that. So I thought that was really cool, how like the way they edited their shots together, not just that one but just like the entire second movie. I thought the shots were just so much more captivating from like a filmmaker's point of view, especially to like when they're singing I Kissed the Teacher, and they have like the bike wheels and like the close-ups of the bikes and like, everyone getting on the bikes and the bikes leaving the rack, or when they're riding the bikes and like you see like the wheels turning and stuff like that. I just like the shots that they decided to use and how they shot each shot, I thought made you like more enticed into wanting to watch it, not just for the acting and the songs, but because the overall cinematography was just, I personally think, so much better than the shots that they had in the first Mamma Mia, because a lot of the shots I feel like they reused them a little bit, like especially shots where like they were overhead shots, like when Donna was singing Mamma Mia and she was standing or lying on top of the building, they kind of just did like a lot of like overhead shots, I guess maybe with like a drone, or if they had, depending on if they were using a green screen or not, maybe that was just like super low to the floor and they just put the camera above her head, something like that, or above her body. But I just felt like I saw that shot a lot, or just like one rotating shot. I felt like I saw that throughout the entire movie, and it just got boring a little bit, whereas the shots in Mamma Mia 2, they just like, they changed and they were like enticing shots. Like the cinematography I thought was better, because the I know you mentioned the director was different from the first movie and the second movie, but the cinematographer was also different too. So the shots were different, cinematographers, different styles. There's something else, just double checking my notes. Oh, the tattoos on Bill's knees in the first movie. Are those same tattoos in the second movie? Because they don't show his knees.
I don't even remember any tattoos.
He had an eye tattooed on each of his kneecaps in the first movie, but I don't think they showed them in the second movie.
Oh, I didn't even remember any tattoos. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Okay. Oh, and Sophie's friends are not in the second movie at all. Like, they
Thank
just
God.
dropped off the face of the earth. They were so pointless in the first movie too.
Exactly. They were, that was definitely an intentional creative choice, because they were so
Yes.
pointless in the first movie. So the director of the second movie was like, yeah, let's not use them again.
Like, they were there in the beginning, and then I didn't even see them at the wedding. And then they were there again when they had the bachelorette party, but like, that was it. Like, they were so like not important. But it's really funny though, actually, because they were like barely in the movie. But I watched an interview with Amanda Seyfried, and she was asked, like, out of all the casts that you've been in, what's your favorite cast that you would want to redo a film with? And she said her favorite would be Mamma Mia, the first one. She said their actual names. I don't remember what their names are, but she's like, those are my girls. And like, I looked it up, and the girls she's talking about are like the two friends from the first movie. And I'm like, they were barely in the movie. How much on set were they on set for? If they're barely in the movie, how do you make a connection with them? But she's like, those are my girls. I'd love to do another film with them. And I'm like, really though? Like, I feel like Lily James would have been like a better choice, but okay.
Maybe. Well, it's very likely that, like Lily James and Amanda Seyfried, because those characters are in two different timelines, that they didn't interact with each other on set often. And it is possible that maybe with the first film, the two best friends were in it more, but then a lot of scenes ended up on the cutting room floor. That is a possibility. I don't know. But one last question. Do you think that there should be a third Mamma Mia film?
Yes, and they're making a third.
Wait, they are?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I don't know who the director is. I didn't look that much into it. I just saw, I don't remember where I saw it, but I saw it somewhere. It said that they are making a third Mamma Mia. So I'm really excited about that. I don't know what it's going to be about. Maybe it'll be like, I'm hoping they'll do the same thing where it's like a sequel and a prequel. So they'll show Lily James with baby Sophie, and oh my god, so many S's, I'm sorry. They'll show baby Sophie with Lily James, and they'll show Sophie with her baby, to see how the babies interact. And I'm assuming, I'm hoping, I'm not going to assume, but I'm hoping that the baby that they use for Lily James' baby and for Sophie's baby, I hope it's the same kid or same person. Or if they have twins that are identical, like Mary Kay and Ashley, do something like they did for Full House.
That would be kind of cool, actually.
Yeah.
So, and what's interesting is that when they first announced the second movie, so I really don't like the first movie. Like, there's not really much about the first movie that I like. So when they announced the second movie, I was like, oh God, no, I'm definitely not seeing that. That's going to be terrible. But then I gave in and saw the second movie, and I actually really enjoyed it a lot. So because of my enjoyment for the second film, I actually am also kind of excited for the third one. And
Yes.
yeah, I'm probably not gonna see it like opening day in the theater, you know, if it comes out when theaters are opened again. But you know, I'll definitely see the third one, and hopefully it's not just gonna be another like pointless cash grab sequel. Hopefully it'll be something that that actually like has purpose in existing and will be enjoyable.
Yeah. So I don't know when it's coming out again, but I'm hoping that when it does come out, like we're past COVID, because I'm ready for my opening day theater tickets for it. Because I saw the second Mamma Mia in theaters 6 times. I feel
Six
like
times?
I feel like I'm the reason Mamma Mia 2 did so well. Yeah, I saw it 6 times.
My gosh, man. I just saw it once via Redbox and then another time on like some streaming service. Jeez.
Yeah, well, because at first my sister's like, oh, we saw the first Mamma Mia. Do you want to see the second one with me? And I was like, yeah, sure. But I got so invested in it. I don't know what it was. It was just something about the movie just like hit me, and I just instantly became obsessed with it. And it's like me and Ariana Grande. So when I saw it with my sister, I was like, I have to take my parents to see it. So I took my parents to see it. And then my friend Paige was like, have you seen the second one yet? And I was like, yes, I have. I saw it, but I'll take you because it's amazing. You have to see it. So I took her to see it. And then I took my girlfriend to see it. And I took my friend Danny and AJ to see it. It was really funny when I took Danny and AJ to see it because AJ sat in the middle of me and my friend Danny, but the entire time, because we were one of the very few people in the movie theater, I think like it was just us in the movie theater because we saw it towards like the end of it being in theaters. It was just us, like AJ sitting in the middle, me and Danny holding hands and singing and dancing, and AJ's in the middle like trying to like not be there. And the last time I saw it by myself, but I think I saw it by myself before I saw it with Danny and AJ.
AJ is a mutual friend of ours, so yeah, I actually know him. So just imagine that in my head. That is hilarious.
Yeah,
Oh
he's
my
just like,
gosh.
I don't want to be here, like sinking in his chair.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so funny. And yeah, I'm actually kind of looking forward to seeing the third Mamma Mia film. Hopefully I'll enjoy it. But what I did definitely enjoy, transition, what I did definitely enjoy was talking about the Mamma Mia films with you. So yeah, thank you for being on the podcast again.
Yeah, of course. I'm happy to be on it.
Yeah. And thank you to all of you for listening to another episode of my podcast, Podcast Racing. Uh, Again, I hope that all of you are doing well. I comments down below which of the 2 Mamma Mia films is your favorites. And yeah, see you guys next time. Bye.